Let's do it live.
Send you intro music.
I like the intro music. Keep it going. Let's dance.
With an intro dance, yeah.
Podcast dance. Podcast dance. Look
I
at
think
me
we're lucky that
doing
this is
the
just
podcast dance.
I don't know how to stop the music. Make it stop.
Oh man, it's nice having a huge budget like that, huh?
I know, right? We've made it big. We got them big bucks now. Now that we have
Got big bucks.
advertisements coming in from ChatGPT, who are not an official sponsor of this show. However, they do provide us with a bunch of ridiculous sponsors of the show that you will hear more about later. Welcome, folks, to another episode of Science Actually Presents The Nerd and the Scientist. I am your local scientist, Kovi Rose, and this is my trusty nerd friend, Mr. Benjamin Salas, calling in all the way from the west coast of the US of A, and here I am all the way south in Australia. Which is pretty much as far south as you can get before you start heading north. Which is always, I feel like as a kid, that was kind of a bit of a mind bender, right? Like you can, if you're on a planet,
yes.
Like you can go east forever, you can go west forever, but you can only go south for so long until you start going north.
That's brilliant. I really never thought about it that way. But that is 100% true.
Whoa.
We might be one Flat Earth listener. So later.
Do we have a Flat Earth listener? Oh, gosh.
I hope so. And I hope he's mad.
He's real mad. He's got questions. He's got quandaries.
You round earthers! I'm gonna get you.
Do you think they listen just to get themselves worked up? Like every week, they're like, "Oh, another new episode of these round earthers and their space shenanigans."
Again, I really, really hope so.
It has been nice looking at our analytics and seeing listeners pop up all around the globe.
Around the globe. I'm loving it, actually. All you listeners, we've been watching our RSS analytics, and there's a little dot that pops up every time a new geographic location tunes into our show. And we have a few hundred listeners now. Wow. But they're all over the place, and we're loving watching that map light up, everybody. So thank you for tuning in.
Seriously.
And telling your friends, because that's what we assume you're doing.
Yes, and thank you for only telling your friends to listen to the good episodes and not the episodes where, let's say, a motorbike zooms past in the background and my audio quality is ruined.
Or I laugh way too hard. Some anonymous people might have mentioned.
Yes,
thanks.
The feedback has been good, helpful.
The feedback has been good.
But yes, this brings us to the end of our first calendar year of the Nerd and the Scientist podcast, and that ties in quite nicely to the topic of today's episode, which is, Benjamin, tell the folks at home or wherever they're listening to this what the topic of today's episode is.
Calendars. Yeah, you can get calendars with like bicycles on them, or airplane calendars. You can get basketball player calendars, and you can get calendars that are thousands of years old, built with holes and stones in them in the ground that are still accurate to today. So there's a variety. You got the NBA calendars, which I don't like at all, and then you got the ones that have been around for eons that still work beautifully. And
are you talking about the NBA like schedule calendar, or is it like a physical calendar?
I don't know. I don't like basketball. I don't even know why I use that as an example.
That's
I
why it's
have three
surprised.
kids. They all play basketball. I love them dearly. I don't like basketball.
Despite that, you love them dearly.
Moving along.
Moving along. Yes,
a,
calendars.
a little while ago, I was scheduling our podcast to be aired, and I noticed I'm scheduling it with a calendar, and I mentioned to Coffee, like, hey, we should do an episode about calendars, not just calendars, but how they came to be, because it has a very strong tie-in to astronomy. And
Absolutely.
Kavi said, yeah, Benjamin, you're a genius. Your constant good ideas blow my mind. And I was like, hey, that's what I do.
That's actually a direct quote. We'll be posting screenshots of Benjamin and I's private communication after this episode, just so you can see that that was the exact wording that I used. But it is a very, very cool idea. And I think, yeah, it's interesting to see over the millennia how astronomy, you know, kind of started in this very weird background role that transitioned into a role for timekeeping, um, and the creation of lore and myths and kind of the framework for civilization's understanding of the universe. And then also very quickly, as it was used for timekeeping, became this incredibly useful framework for agriculture and for daily life,
Right.
which is quite fascinating to think that that's how it all started.
Absolutely. Um, not the first calendar that we know of, but certainly a quite old one. The first ancient Babylonian calendar, which
Mm.
went back as far as 3800 BC. They literally named their months after what those months were for. They had harvest month, barley month, first fruit harvesting month, the bull month, laying foundation months, setting seeds month. I mean, the months were not named after gods or after you know or you know various Caesars, but they were named for actual you know important events in day to day life. This is the month that we do this in order for our little civilization to continue.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting how a lot of these things were originally, not just named for the fun of it or in any attempt to either flatter a historical figure or leader or just to be objective, but rather, yeah, as you're saying, like it was useful to have this knowledge, and this knowledge was tracked through the stars. And this is something that I've learned a lot about from friends of mine who are Aboriginal or Indigenous Australians, and they talk all about this, about like using the movement of the Milky Way across the sky to track the season, to gather emu eggs, using the moon and the way the moon's shadow appears through the sky to track the different weather seasons. It's really kind of interesting how like these things used to be useful, and how just in a name there's so much information that's conveyed.
Mm-hmm. Uh, excuse me. Uh, I don't know where I was going to go. I just completely lost my train of thought.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was going to say we could just start at the beginning. Um, Everyone's familiar with Stonehenge. It is a calendar, but there is a calendar that is actually found that is considerably older, and possibly the oldest calendar that we know of, which is in Warren Field in Scotland. It's about 10,000 years old.
Oh
It's a
wow.
series of 12 perfectly arranged pits in the ground, and each of them aligned with a stone.
Hmm.
And what are they aligned to? They are aligned towards hills or the peaks of hills and mountains on the horizon. And 12 times a year, if you're standing in one of those alignments of a pit, a stone, and a mountain peak in the horizon, the sun rises on the peak if you're standing in that
Mm.
perfect line. And there's 12 of them. So people knew early on, and this is 10,000 years ago, that there are
Wow.
about 12 lunar cycles in the year. And if you arrange these pits and stones and mountain peaks, the sun will rise exactly where it's supposed to every single year. And I don't know which blows my mind the most, that 10,000 years ago, this is a very long time ago, that we were able, our ancestors, to figure this out. Or the fact that people today saw not just holes in the ground, but they saw, hey, they figured out that these holes were aligned with stones, which are aligned with mountain peaks, and they took the time to measure if it will come up with any sort of astronomical significance. And sure enough, the sun rose. So the fact that 10,000 years ago our ancestors figured it out, or the fact that today, with all of our modern everything, we saw these markings and figured it out, reverse engineered what looked like anything, just ordinary holes. It's fascinating to me.
It's incredible. I think, yeah, the ingenuity and despite it being 10,000 years ago and people not having, I don't know, the freedom to spend their time exploring the stars like maybe people do have today, if they're fortunate enough. I think what's really fascinating is the fact that you happen to have those geological formations that align with that in a way that allowed that person or those people, that group, to actually note that down. Fascinating stuff.
It is. I mean,
Wow.
back then there was no light pollution, so the stars were very, very, very clear,
Mm.
and that was pretty much the celestial entertainment of the day. So everyone was very aware of the movement of the stars and the moon and the sun, or at least the fact that they were there and moving, let alone if it was cyclical. But someone had to figure it out.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think most calendars that have been maintained since then um, tend to be a mixture of both, like an annual calendar based on harvest
Mm-hmm.
seasons, and then the more short time scale calendar is based on, as you were saying, like the lunar cycles, the monthly lunar cycles.
Right.
And like you see this, in the Jewish calendar, in the Muslim world, in their calendar as well. And it's interesting how that has kind of that link has lost itself. Like everybody in the Western world still uses a monthly calendar with no connection to the moon, even though that's exactly where it came from.
Right. Um, the beginnings of the Egyptian calendar was an interesting one that had uh, not really months, but it had 320 so day long sections, and each one was 120 or so days long because it counted four lunar passings before it became the next one. There was
Hmm.
the Nile flooding season, then there was the emergence season, and then there was a low water season, and
Hmm.
then there were a few extra days at the end. That's kind of like a celebratory, it's the end of the year kind of a thing before they started really switching over to something that's more lunar, more 12 monthly ish.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
guess, yeah. You use those few days to celebrate the fact that you survived the Nile flooding.
We survived living out in this mad world another year.
Although I think if we're being specific, I think the Nile flooding was actually a necessary part of their agricultural cycle, and if the
Absolutely.
Nile didn't flood, it would be bad
Hmm.
news
It
for
was
the
very
ancient
bad news.
Egyptians. Speaking of bad news, I think it is time for an ad break. Um,
Already?
Already, I
Wow, I
know.
got so much more ground to cover.
Well, before we get back to our calendar episode, Benjamin, is there something that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, sure. Step right out, folks, and behold the wonders of the mighty 13er. That's right, the timekeeping sensation that defies convention. Are you tired? of the mundane 12-month calendar, say goodbye to the ordinary, and embrace the extraordinary with 13 months of sheer magic. Yes, you heard it, magic. Yes, you heard it right. An extra month of enchantment, all neatly packed into the calendar known as the Mighty 13er. But wait, there's more. Need an extra day for spontaneous shenanigans? Flip a page and presto! Your bonus day awaits. Worried about aging? Fear not. With the Mighty 13er, time stands still and you'll feel forever young. Act now and receive a free, limited edition, time traveling pocket watch. Unleash the magic, seize the moment, and make every day an adventure with the Mighty 13er, where time bows to your command.
It's amazing. my
Is that
my
good?
ad does not even compare to that.
Ah. Come on, give your ad a go.
Parents of the cosmos, listen up. Tired of horoscopes leading your kids astray? Fear not. Introducing Astronomy Adventure, the antidote to the mundane and mysterious. Every Friday night, your young stargazers join our experts at the Galactic Observatory. No more horoscopes, just constellations, galaxies, and other planet parties with space-age sodas. Astronomy Adventure is where the stars align. It's the place to be for your kids so fine. They'll learn to navigate by the stars, not the zodiac. Plus, each graduate gets an official Cosmic Cadet certificate. Astronomy Adventure, the sky's the limit. Reach for the stars and watch your child's brilliance. Call now, 1-800-STAR-KID. Swap horoscopes for telescopes. It's Astronomy Adventure, where the future meets the firmament.
There are so many things in that made me so happy right now.
I am so surprised that it came out like
Space
this.
sodas. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
It aligns quite well with, we're talking this episode about calendars and horoscopes. We do give them a fair amount of flack on this show, but they're an important part of this like foundational aspect to astronomy's role in timekeeping, right?
Right. I think it's an interesting thing that some people have used to help keep track of time, which zodiac sign or constellation is passing overhead. So that's fine. That's a good way of timekeeping. Uh, as far as Taurus, the bull is overhead, and therefore everyone's going to die. No, no, there's no meaning. There's no meaning, but it's an actual. It's a very decent clock.
It's a very, very decent clock. Although it's changing, right?
It is changing. It's a changing clock. The constellations are, as we know, moving. So maybe they'll work well for several more generations, but some stars are going this way, some stars are coming that way, some stars are no longer going to be. So some new stars will appear. So at the moment, it's okie dokie.
Yes, it's good for now. But yes, I do apologize to everyone listening for having to suffer through my poor attempt at a transatlantic accent, but that was the prompt. You liked it?
I liked it.
That was the prompt that I gave to ChatGPT, so I felt like I had to be true to it.
Hey, I like it. Did you know that the Roman word for month was calend?
No.
It is. Hence the word calendar, which just means a bunch of months. I learned that. It's pretty good stuff.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
The Roman calendar was awesome, but
it
was consistently the first Roman calendar, which had actually a 29 and a half day month, and there were some months that actually ended at noon, and then a new month began same day. They actually observed that for several years in ancient Rome. They tried to have a 29 and a half day month.
I mean,
with a bonus week at the end of the year.
The 29 days makes sense based on the lunar cycle, but
right.
I guess that the half day is them just trying to do math.
Right.
Because
so basically, there was
see them.
There was like a January 29th, and then on January 30th, it only lasted 12 hours, and then February 1st began at lunch, and and it went on like that for a good while. But in the time of the Caesars, they realized that calendar was perpetually getting off schedule, and so they tried to fix it. And that's when, in 46 BC or so, we started getting calendars with some months 30 days, some months 31 days, and some months 29 days. The only month to have survived, assuming with only 28 days, and the only month to survive to today, which is 28 days, is the month named after the February festival. Hint, hint.
Hmm.
February, February. Come on, man. Give me all the
No,
answers.
I knew that one. I wasn't familiar with the festival.
Yeah, that's how February got its name, after the February festival. I don't know what they did in that festival, but it was good enough to name a month after it.
So I guess the original calendar was, you had the various festivals, as we were saying earlier. You have,
Mm-hmm.
specific events that are happening, and so you name the months after them. But then the second half of the calendar year, or the calendar that we continue to use, it's interesting. You have a mixture of um, numerical named months
Right.
and then some non-numerical named months. And there's this meme that keeps making its way around the internet every year that's like, oh gosh, whoever it is that decided to name the 9th month September and the 10th month October and so on, right? For these, and it seems like their numbers are out of style. It's like whoever decided to do that should really be killed. And they're like, well, I have good news and bad news about Julius Caesar.
I actually learned something that before September, the month we know as August used to be Sextilis. And before that, the month we know as July, it was Quintilis. And
Interesting.
Quintilis was changed by Julius Caesar
Mm-hmm.
because, gimme, gimme, I'm Caesar. And Sextilis was changed to August after Augustus Caesar because
Mm-hmm.
gimme, gimme, I'm Caesar.
Sure.
And it was May and June that were wedged in to
Interesting.
to push everything forward. How about them
Interesting.
apples?
Them are apples. Them do
Yeah,
be apples. Interesting. I think we would be doing. I think we would be doing a disservice to all of our wonderful listeners wherever they are around this round Earth, if we didn't talk about the cosmic calendar.
I would love to speak about the cosmic calendar because we already figured out the regular one here.
Tell everyone listening at home about the cosmic calendar.
Cosmic calendar is an excellent kind of a thought experiment. If you could put the entirety of existence from the Big Bang all the way to today onto a calendar, with 12 a.m. on January 1st being the Big Bang, and where
Mm-hmm.
we are right now being 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. on December 31st, where would all the evolutionary steps of our universe take place along the year of the cosmic calendar? The entirety of human existence that we know would occupy, oh my gosh, what? The last day?
Yeah, but it's the last day of December,
The
not
last
even the
day of
full last
December.
day.
Not even, right? Um, this is actually something I do on science, actually. I have a cosmic calendar post that goes up during every significant event that we kind of know of that's relevant to to humanity. On
Mm-hmm.
I post it on Facebook at that time of the year. So I have a post that goes up first thing, January 1st. It says the Big Bang on the cosmic calendar, and then nothing goes up again until I think February or March, when there's the first galaxy, and then nothing goes up again, and for a while until like summertime, and then nothing goes up again until I think September, and then it starts to get faster and faster and faster of all these events that happen. like the evolution of
Hmm.
on our planet anyway, of the first microorganism, the first reptile, the first bird, the first flower, the extinction of the dinosaurs, the first primates, the first mammals, blah 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 blah. When we come down from trees, our the invention of language, and for as posts get ramp up in speed, for those of you who go to facebook.com/actually science, you will see that from on December 31st, there's going to be, I think, a rapid fire dozen posts that happened just before New Year's, which covers the last ice age. It covers the invention of music, sculpture, writing, uh, domestication of fire. All these things happened so quickly, like a shot at the end of the cosmic calendar, that humanity is just barely a blip. It's it's actually a very interesting, I just thought experiment. I've taken way too much time.
That's really cool. I had no idea that you were doing that, and I was always wondering why I feel like my newsfeed just gets incredibly spammed by your page in the last day of the year. So now it all makes sense. You had a
That's the
good
goal.
reason for doing it. No, but that's really cool, and it's just wild to like have that cosmic perspective, I guess, as Carl Sagan used to say. This
Mm-hmm.
idea that you know all of the modernity of the scientific revolution and industrialization and all of modern technology all happened in the final second of the final minute of the final hour of the final day of December in the cosmic calendar, and it's such a mind-bending perspective it gives.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It's interesting. It I think it's just fascinating how much natural evolution on the universal scale had to happen first before this wonderful podcast came into being.
Yeah, that's it's a shame that in order to create this podcast first we had to create the universe, right?
That and apple pie. Yeah, everything.
Oh, I love it. I love it. This was definitely a really great idea of an episode. I'm glad that you came up with it. It was indeed
Oh,
a
thanks.
wonderful, genius, spectacular idea. As I've already said to you.
I did not hold a gun to his head. He's in Australia. He's saying this of his own free will.
There's no way that you could prove that. There that I'm in Australia, that is, because as we know, Australia doesn't exist. It's a conspiracy.
Oh, gosh, yes. I mean, seriously though, I could tell by your accent you're in New Jersey.
Oh god. This has been a wonderful episode. I am thankful for all the feedback that we've gotten from some of our fans. Anybody else listening, please feel free to continue to give us more feedback about what
We
you
love
like
it.
about the episodes and what you don't like about the episodes, preferably just what you
Yeah.
like.
What would you like to hear in our next episodes? I'd love to hear that one.
One thing I was told was a few episodes back, I was telling people that they should stop what they're doing and go look something up, but don't stop everything that they're doing. Still make sure to keep breathing in that sweet, sweet oxygen. So I will say um, thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode and for continuing to breathe that 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen and all the rest of that wonderful, good stuff that we like in our air.
Don't stop breathing. Don't stop listening to
The Nerd and the
Nerd in the
Scientist,
Science.
presented by
Hey, where
Science
can
Actually.
people find us if they want to tell us what to listen to? I completely forgot our little handles.
Yes, they can find me at Fun Fact Science on all the good and all the bad social media platforms. Benjamin, where can the people find you?
They can find me as Science Actually or Actually Science on all the good social media platforms and the bad ones, and the one formerly known as Twitter.
We'll let you decide which category that falls into.
You can find me on Roman numeral 10.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the
Get my
end of
joke?
the calendar year.